Today, Matt's gonna come over and help me pick a rack for the XR650 and put it on. Let's see which one ends up on my bike and which one's the best one for me. Thanks for watching. First, I'd like to apologize. It's a snowstorm. I'm stuck in my garage. I had these new lights, those lights, and these lights had to be turned off because they were buzzing. So we have all types of frequency and lots of banding. I apologize for the banding. So what's the best rack for the XR650L? Well, that's a silly question. That's like asking what's the best flavor of ice cream. Let me rephrase that. What's the best rack for the XR650L that'll meet my needs? There are basically two materials that racks are made out of. There's aluminum, which is generally speaking lighter, has a good strength to weight ratio. It can be CNC'd into complex designs, but it tends to be more brittle and less robust. Those are generalizations.
Another option for aluminum.
There's another option for an aluminum one.
This one tends to be more flimsy on the end.
Yeah. The second material is steel. Steel is very strong. It's heavier. It tends to be less brittle than aluminum. It bends before it breaks. And that's an option also. Generally speaking, those are going to be harder to form into complex structures and will frequently be made out of metal tubing. This is a rack I ordered from Nomadic. It looks to be well made out of CNC'd aluminum. This one, the bag will need to come off to use. This one has a contoured fit that seems to fit the design language of the bike. I don't think you have to worry about it breaking because it's never going to get hit.
It's got a lot of connecting points so you can strap stuff down to it if you need to.
Yeah.
I've noticed that.
So that's an attractive rack.
This is a good looking rack.
I got this rack from Amazon. I don't even know who made it. It was the least expensive rack on there. I suspect it's made at a CNC factory in China. It's made out of aluminum. It did arrive with bent forearms here, but that probably got hit during shipping. This also will attach such that you don't need to lose the apparently beloved toolbox bag.
Just regular. This is a pretty sturdy piece here.
Yeah, this is made by Dirt Racks. This is made out of steel. It's welded, and this one includes the rear rack, but also two drop bars on the back. So these will go on the side.
So that adds quite a bit of bulk to the bike.
And this may be perfect to hold the Mosko rackless luggage system. That's also going to greatly reinforce the rear subframe. That's one giant gusset.
These are about roughly a pound.
Matt brings up a good point. I didn't discuss weight. These are much lighter than the steel.
The steel is probably going to be more beneficial in the long run,
Yeah.
especially on the kind of riding you're planning on doing.
Let's find out. So this is the one by Nomadic. It's pretty sleek looking. It seems to be a rather sturdy mounting system. It tapers and looks like a continuation of the seat. So I think that's a pretty good looking rack. Move your big hands for a second. There. So it looks something like that. This one's pretty sleek. It will fit the Mosko Moto just fine. Does not go to just goes to the end of the rack, and there's still some space there. So this may be a great option. For example, if you're going to rent a motorcycle which doesn't have a rack.
Well, that's way too wide.
So this is the cheap one. I think this was $60. It's a little bit bigger. I assume it. Well, actually, this one didn't even come with any hardware. So I don't know who made that rack, but it's going back to them.
I wouldn't even mess with this rack.
Yeah, so ixnay on that rack A. So it seems to me that this Dirt Racks is the clear winner, for me at least. I think the Mosko will fit perfectly on there. Let's try it out. We need to put those together and see how it works. Yeah. I may need to relocate the turn signals. But nice and sturdy. You get to keep the all-beloved tool bag. I don't think I would design a rack around that, but they did.
Not much of a bag anyway.
No. On this side, I wonder if we'll be able to get access to the battery box. Let's see. okay. If you need to change the battery, this needs to come off, but nothing kills a battery like storing a motorcycle in your garage for winter. We got a big winter storm warning heading our way in the morning, so.
What are we supposed to get?
I'm on Wichita winter storm warning, means like we'll get 1 inch of snow, but they say sleet.
1/4 inch of ice and then, what, 4 to 12 inches of snow?
So I think this is a clear winner.
Yeah, I like it.
Thanks for your help, Matt.
You're welcome. Go Chiefs.
To get this rear rack to mount properly, by the way, right there it mounts where the insertion of these racks mount at the turn turning. These brackets mount at the bracket. This rack mounts where the turn turn.
This specific rack mounts right here at the turn signal bracket. And on the inside of this bracket, you have this rubber grommet with this metal piece that goes through it to keep this from moving around. In order for these to line up on here and to be able to get it in there with this specific rack, you have to take this grommet and this metal piece out. That gives you, with both of these together, about 1 inch, a little over 1 inch. So you have enough space to get your bolt in there and get everything lined up.
I suspect they did that because they want the entire weight of this rack on a little rubber grommet.
Probably so.
Fits together perfectly.
Keep it from vibrating. But
thank you. Easy for you to say.
Thank you. Go Chiefs.
So this took an unanticipated turn at the end. In the end, I'm using the side rack from Dirt Racks, very well made. I'm using the aluminum top rack from Nomadic, and it seems to be a good combination. I'm sure there's some engineering taboo about mixing steel and aluminum, but this is a motorcycle, not a spacecraft. I don't think it's gonna be a problem. Now, is it possible I have no idea what I'm doing and the other system is perfectly fine to mount this with? Absolutely. I'm just saying, I messed around with it for a couple of hours last night and I could not get a satisfactory placement of the Mosko on this rear rack with the Dirt Racks rear rack in place. Apparently, if you're mounting a Mosko, the old adage that you can never be too rich or too thin applies. The other one was just a bit too thick and high. When the racks came out, it had one contact point here. Please note, I'm not saying the Dirt Racks is not an excellent rack. I mean, it's top notch. I could be doing something wrong. I'm just talking about my experience, which is limited, trying to get the Mosko to fit, and it fit a lot better with this combination of the Nomad, but I'm gonna keep this. So the nice thing about this is it seems to fit well, has a good contact patch with the frame. Another thing worth noting is this rack mounts here where the original turn signals did. The turn signals lose their bracket and are pushed backwards. So they're further in and they are further back. So they don't get hit by the Mosko Reckless system. I know a lot of people replace the turn signals. I think that that's an anachronistic faux pas. I'm joking, of course. But I will say in Ecuador, I knocked both of the turn signals off the XR650 I was renting because my camera bag fell off right, then it fell off left. And in the middle of nowhere, I had them both replaced for $9. So there's that. While we're on the subject, so what's this? This is the bracket for the turn signal. Well, the only way to get those off are either to saw through this, which I wouldn't recommend doing unless you're really sure you want to keep the Nomad rack, or you have to take everything apart, track the wires all the way to the main wiring harness and unplug them, and then you can plug them in. This is not a 5-minute job. With this rack, you can install the seat, but it's not an enjoyable endeavor. So this was somewhat surprising. I ended up with the Dirt Racks side crash bars, which will be used as the Mosko supports on the side, and the Nomad top rack. The Dirt Racks top rack is a top quality piece of gear, and I'm going to take that down to Ecuador and use it without the side racks. It should work fine. It just doesn't seem to work well, again, for me in that setting. I again wish to be clear that this is probably my issue and not Dirt Rack's issue. So if I'm doing something wrong and this is really easy to mount, please let me know. In no way am I questioning the quality or design of the rack. It just wasn't something I could figure out. And it's clearly very well made. And I'm keeping it.